Hello, I'm William Bond. This is another installment of the Bond Report. Today we have one called 16 Cases, and I wanted to say there's some talk about working people here. Work's a noble thing, no disrespect's intended to anyone, any profession, and people contribute to society. The sad fact is that we talk about coal miners in this group and doctors, the hardworking people that do things. In the modern era, they seem to be getting replaced more and more by corporate types that I would say that are a little more of an industrial model and a modern model, a union model. And no disrespect is intended to any working people on this, certainly. Now, let me get to it. In the old days, Hippocrates said that wherever the art of medicine is loved, there's love of humanity. And some of that seems to be going out with the modern era. Arthur Conan Doyle said this: the moral training to keep a confidence inviolate, to act promptly on a sudden call, to keep your head in critical moments, to be kind yet strong. Where else outside medicine can you get a training such as this? He said this in the late 19th century. It's true today. It's been a wonderful thing to say. We habitually, this was in this book, The Antidote, we habitually and always act as if we have more control over our circumstance, or if our control over the world is much greater than it really is. This, by the way, The Antidote, just went out of print, Oliver Burkham. You think it's going to be happiness for people who can't stand positive thinking. You think it's going to be a light fluff piece, and it's actually kind of deep. It goes into the Stoic philosophy and things. You know, we never thought about the future in the old days. It was good, life was good, everything was fine. And along came a lot of things. Albert Einstein, you ever think about the future? It comes soon enough, God knows. The Swami, no one saw this coming. The Swami will cancel your appointment tomorrow due to unforeseen circumstances. But everything, here's Winston Churchill, Second World War, getting his first shipment of Thompson guns after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and he posing with one there. Everything I was sure or taught to be sure of was impossible has happened. It's a melancholy thing. The history of meddlesome, intrusive government is, in fact, the history of unintended consequences. You've taught your dog to fetch there. You have prohibition coming when a lot of those Thompson guns are coming. And you have a lot of people that don't really understand the moment-to-moment work that you do and the noble calling that it is. Dwight Eisenhower said this: the farming looks mighty easy when your plow is a pencil and you're 1,000 miles from the cornfield. And we're the government. We're taking over everything. We're the government people who gave you the DMV, Vietnam. We're putting the FU back in the future. Herbert Hoover said it: mankind lives by phrases. People say the same thing over and over and come to believe that that's entirely true. But Jefferson, very distrustful of government, although he became the president later on, chiefly informs us what bad government is. And we see that all the time. H.L. Mencken, the whole aim of practical politics is to keep the public alarmed, and it's clamoring to be led to safety by a series, menacing it with a series of hobgoblins, mostly imaginary. True then, true now. And Will Rogers, death's better than taxes because death doesn't get worse every time the Congress meets. So, you know, this kind of took over our profession. We had the highest standard of living. There's no way like the American way. And then we got, brother, can you spare a paradigm? We're going to ration everything. We're going to make this, the Obamacare, your doctor's going to be down at the Walmart, the Kmart. You're going to buy this. We talked about this in the provider show. You're just a provider. But truth can be powerful stuff. You're not expecting it. Vonnegut in front of one of his old houses. And it's all going to be set by laws that people that have no idea what they're doing are going to set for that British barrister. I remember getting asked this. This is one of my prized possessions. Melrail, they used to give us cups and pens and things, and then that became illegal, where you provided pens, samples, or other impedimenta citizen, you know, straight out of Orwell. And this was ICD-8 and ICD-9 and coding, numbers and things you had to do in the doctor's office. We've upped our ICD-10 coding up yours, you know. They would have things where you had to define what you did as a medical doctor. I would think it hardly possible to state the opposite of the truth with more precision. It was very annoying. And their idea of something being secure is to beat it to death. This is Ann Coulter talking, but flight security has long been really annoying equates to safe plane. And the more annoying you make your process, the safer you are. This is a bureaucratic mindset and very real. There's never been a situation so dismal that a policeman couldn't make it worse. That's Brendan Behan said it originally. That is one of my favorite statements. And bureaucracy defends the status quo as you try to move on as medicine goes, long after the quo has lost its status. Frederick Douglass said this, and he was talking about something entirely different, a little leading up to in the Civil War. Find out what people will quietly submit to, and you find out the exact amount that they'll be given, which will be imposed on them. It'll continue till it reaches that maximum point when people get this kind of abuse. And so what we kept going along with as doctors and surgeons was you're getting threatened with a greater injustice, so when you accept you accept a smaller one as a blessing and a favor. And this went on year after year. But every year, whatever you did or did not have going, damn it, Jim, you were still a doctor. And you were treated like one. We have this where, gee, everything will be right. The doctors celebrated. I went into this because it's a noble calling there back when people used to do this. And now you're a union worker. You're a provider. You're getting back into this. I've used this slide before, but it says it. There's nothing wrong with being any of these guys, but in terms of being a calling, you just don't get the same vibe there. And now do you see the resemblance? This is a hymn to Obamacare. I wrote this particular talk in 2014 during the administration, and it was a big change. No more good should be attempted than the public can bear, said President Jefferson. And also, that's so true. And also Edgar Degas, they don't know what they're doing. You get your orders from two tiers of people above you. And Edgar Degas said that a painting is very easy unless you know what you're doing. They think your job's easy. They think it's much like theirs. They have no real idea what they're asking people to do. You have your panels here, which were called something else at the time. But whenever you have the government taking over something, particularly they don't understand, you get more and more into Orwell much more quickly than you think you have. And some animals really are more equal than others. One of the very first things that Congress did was seek to exempt itself from Obamacare. We're told if you have a plan, you can keep it. But ours was compulsory. If you have a plan you like, you can keep it. Well, what if we don't like yours? Will you just keep it? Where we're not happy until you're not happy would be the motto. Now, wrote a song about it, was inspired to do that. And with apologies to Merle Travis, that wrote the 16 Tons tune in 1947 or 48. The record's unclear. Ernie Ford sang it in 1962, and it's a great song. There are more bad musicians than there is bad music, and I sang this myself. I wanted to get, I don't have a terrific singing voice, but I wanted a guy with a lot of attitude, and I've got attitude to burn. And so I thought that I would be the guy I want. We've had a special request, said Dean Martin, but I'm going to sing anyway. So here with apologies, hymn to the Affordable Care Act, with apologies to Merle Travis and Ernie Ford, 16 cases.
You do 16 cases, and what do you get? Little money and the feeling that it's time to just quit. Remember, helping patients ain't really our goal. We don't know what we're doing, but we want the control. The cost is astronomical if you get your fee. We're gonna try and force you just to do it for free. We love all the people, we just don't want to pay. We'll make you a felon, you don't give it away. Spend your days in the office and your nights on the phone. Nothing ever helps to pay back your loan. Don't care you spent no 20 years in school. All we plan to do is beat you like a rented mule. 16 cases, and what do you get? Low money and the feeling that it's time to just quit. Remember, helping patients ain't really our goal. We don't know what we're doing, but we want the control. We may know something, but we don't know much. We don't know nothing about diseases and such. You don't need doctors, you don't need smart. Gonna get all your doctrine at your local Walmart. We'll be right there for you till we think it's too steep. We've kept all the promises that we plan to keep. We'll blame all our screw-ups on fraud and abuse, and we'll say we're gonna fix it all with meaningless use. 16 cases, and what do you get? Low money and the feeling that it's time to just quit. Everything you think you earned, we think that you stole. We don't know what we're doing, but we want the control. You love your grandma, but her care is too steep. It's more cost-effective just to put her to sleep. 3 points for dementia, 2 for shortness of breath. We're working out arithmetic for panels of death. We'll never admit we're gonna ration the care. We'll say what we always say, we just want it fair. We'll cut them greedy doctors right down to their size, and we'll show them who's deciding who lives and who dies. 16 cases, and what do you get? Low money and the feeling that you ought to just quit. We take all the money and it goes in a hole. We don't know what we're doing, but we want the control. Some folks are more equal, and that's just how it goes. Obamacare is good enough for regular Joes. We think our plan is great for everybody but us. If you're not in the Congress, well, you under the bus. Come and take a look at old Nancy Pelosi. She's your doctor now, and your outlook ain't rosy. For bullying the Congress, she's up to the task, and it's true that she doesn't need a Halloween mask. 16 cases, and what do you get? Poor money and the feeling that it's time to just quit. Remember that we think of it as part of the dole. We don't know what we're doing, but we want the control. Ain't it really something the commander-in-chief thinks every physician is a liar and a thief? Obamacare is good enough for regular Joes. If he gets a hot appendix, watch and see where he goes. They say our plan will founder on one simple fact: we don't know how to operate on cataracts. We'll get a bunch of shoe clerks who'll do it for free. They do it with a laser, how hard could it be? You do 16 cases, and what do you get? Bad money and the feeling that you ought to just quit. Remember, helping patients ain't really our goal. We don't know what we're doing, but we want the control. 16 cases, and what do you get? Poor money, more hassle than you want to admit. Obama, don't you call me, 'cause you won't let me live. My overhead's more than you're willing to give.